Today, I want to talk about laziness or so called laziness. I cannot believe how many people I still hear calling themselves lazy. I want to do this, but I'm just too lazy. Or I was trying to do this, but then I got lazy. And it's so unkind to talk about ourselves that way. It's so unhelpful because once we label ourselves as lazy, it does not serve us in getting more motivated and active around what we really want to do. But most importantly, I think it's always untrue when we call ourselves lazy. That whole concept is a lie and kind of an umbrella that covers over what is really going on underneath. So, if you're someone who has felt like you get stuck in laziness, like you're too lazy to achieve your goals, like there's important areas of your life where you're just lazy, today is for you. We're going to figure out what's really going on underneath so that you can move through this inaction, which is really what we're talking about with laziness, and into action. Okay, let's get into it. So typically, when we're calling ourselves lazy, really one of two things is going on. The first is that we've got a goal that is not true to who we are, that's really a should. So let me give you an example. Let's say Jane decides that she is feeling uncomfortable in her body. She's been reading all this stuff about how exercise is also important for your health. And so she decides, okay, I'm going to get with the program. I'm going to start running every morning. And she runs for the first 3 mornings. And then her motivation really starts to wane. After all, she didn't enjoy running that much. And she stops running. And now she starts calling herself lazy. I'm just too lazy. I'm not following through on my goal. I'm too lazy to be the type of person who's a runner, right? So if we were to talk to Jane a little more, we'd start asking, well, what motivated you to want to run in particular? Is that a form of movement that you love? Is the idea of running every day really true to you? What form of movement and taking care of your body actually does feel true to you? And Jane might get in touch with, actually, it's when I'm on a hike with a long friend that the time goes by quickly and exercise feels really easy. Or, what I truly love is to dance. Or I need to do exercise in a group setting for it to really feel fun and sustainable for me. So Jane wasn't really lazy. She just had gotten caught up in a should. And this can happen with all kinds of things. Certainly, the ways that we try and take care of our health. It can also happen in our work, right? I often hear people saying, I should reach out to this person. I should be doing more networking. I should be posting about my skills on social media more. But if they've set a goal that really came more from just external advice or their own inner critic or what some influential person in their life thought that they should do, but it wasn't true to them and it's not true to their path, motivation is going to run out quickly and wane. And that's actually a good thing when that happens because that helps point us to the goals and the ways of working in the world that are true to us. Okay, so that's number one to think about. Is the thing you're trying to motivate around really the right goal for you? Really the right pursuit? Is it more coming from a should? Is it a general prescription for some kind of advice that you've decided has to apply to you? And if it is, then how do you shift it to make it more aligned with you? Sometimes that might mean dropping the goal entirely, right? It might not be something you need to hold on to. Sometimes, like with Jane, it is something that the essence of it you want to hold on to. Just Jane still wants to find some way to exercise and take care of her health, right? But she needs to tweak it and revise it so that it's a form of that goal that really can be resonant and motivating for her. Okay, so that's number one. We've set the wrong goal. We've thought we should be motivated around a should, but of course we're not, and now we're calling ourselves lazy. The second thing that can happen is even if the goal is resonant, even if we've chosen something that is true to our path, we can get stuck and blocked along the way. And this is really, really common. In fact, whatever you've set a goal around or whatever you want to do, whether it's writing a book or starting a new business or starting to be more active with movement in your life. If there weren't some internal blocks or conflicts around that thing, you probably would have done it a long time ago. So it's very common that when we're setting an important goal or we have an important desire, there is emotional inner stuff that is going to come up along the way in us trying to achieve that goal. And here are some of the things that commonly come up. Huge one, probably the most common one that stops our action, is fear. What if I fail? What if I get rejected? What if this gets criticized? What if the people around me don't understand it or like it? What if this brings change in my life, right? And often when we are saying we're lazy, we've really just come up against a fear block. We've gotten past that honeymoon period, let's say with starting a new business, and now we're starting to get scared. What if it doesn't work? What if the world doesn't say yes and meet me with a warm reception with what I'm offering in this business? Those things are really scary to the vulnerable part of us that just wants to be loved and have things be comfortable all the time. And our fears, if we're not looking at them or dealing with them, will take us to a place of complete procrastination, inaction, and then it looks on the surface like laziness. It's really just fear doing its thing. So check in with yourself around this goal. Are you afraid of some aspect of what might come? And if you're not sure, a good way to find that out is to sort of play the movie forward. So imagine yourself now taking some important step on the way to this goal. Imagine that you are talking to 10 customers on the phone about that offering of your new business. Imagine that you're talking to a publisher to see if they want to publish your manuscript. So when you're thinking of this step, don't think of a preparatory step. A preparatory step might be like, I'm going to take a class of something I think I need to learn in order to do this business. Or I'm going to research different dance classes that I might take. Those won't really bring up your fear, which is what we're trying to do here. So think about a step where you're really bringing this goal into action, you're living it. So you are sending that manuscript off to a potential publisher, or you're out there getting customer feedback on your business's offerings, or you are showing up for that new workout experience on the first day. And as you imagine that movie playing, notice what fear is flooding around in there. Notice what it feels like in your body to play through that movie. And that can help you start to detect some of the fears that are there. You can also do this with journaling, writing down what are some of the fears that this goal brings up? What are some of the things I'm worried might happen along the way? Unacknowledged fear, unarticulated fear will get us stuck into inaction. Okay, another thing that can get us blocked is an unmet need for help or support of some kind. Sometimes we just get stuck with the practical pieces, like I want to get my website up, but there's this one technical piece that's really overwhelming me and I've been stuck around it and I don't know what to do. Or I want to change how I deal with my finances, but there's some pieces I feel like I really don't understand. And often we just expect ourselves to push through and figure it out, but we can forget that there are lots of ways of getting support. So do you need an advisor or a mentor around this thing? Do you need an accountability buddy? If you notice that the unmet need or the gap for you is just in having someone to check in with and help you move along, maybe you need to have an accountability buddy and a friend or a colleague around this goal. So that's the second thing. Notice, is there a place you're getting stuck where you really just have a need for information or support of some kind? And give yourself permission to go get it. It can really help move things forward. And then the last is simply discomfort. That sometimes there are uncomfortable emotions, not just fear, but others that come up when we are moving into a new habit, a goal. It might be the discomfort of being a beginner. If this is hard, of I'm finding my way. It might be the discomfort of there's a lot that's unknown in this new goal or behavior. And some parts of us don't really like the unknown, right? It might be that there's some kind of conflict in you around this thing. Like, I want to do this, but it means leaving the way that I was raised behind, leaving behind some family patterns, right? Like maybe I want to be more visible with my voice, but I was always taught to be discreet and humble and keep everything private in my family. Or I want to uh, earn more money as a female breadwinner in my family, but my early conditioning was that the breadwinning should come from someone else and the mom should focus on caretaking. Those kinds of things will create feelings of conflict around the goal. And just like with fear, if we don't acknowledge the conflict, if we don't find words to talk about what it is, it'll get us stuck. So that's another one to journal about. What uncomfortable feelings might come up along the way here? Are there any conflicts where, yes, I want this thing, but here's what in me doesn't want it, or here's what it challenges from my conditioning or my past? And when we articulate those, just beginning to have the awareness of what they are really makes a difference. We can't go back. Then we've got the spotlight on them, we're aware of how they might be affecting us, and we can choose if we want to relate to those feelings differently. So, next time you notice that thought, I'm being lazy, next time you might notice yourself judging another person, a family member perhaps, your teenager, they're being lazy. Remember, that's never the story. That's never the story. That is a label that hides what's going on underneath. In fact, what I believe is that we all have an incredible natural wellspring of motivation. It's like an unbelievable energy flow. But two things have to happen. We have to line it up towards the right aim for it to flow. We can't try and aim it at a should. We have to line it up towards the goals, the callings that are true for us as individuals if we want it to flow. And we have to do the work to then unblock the emotional discomforts, the fears, the gaps in our knowledge or experience that are going to come up and provide obstacles to that flow along the way. And if we do those two things, if we do the work that you just began to do today, in removing the blocks, working through them, and in lining up your aims to be aligned with what's true for you, then we can tap into that natural motivation. And it is, believe me, the opposite of what laziness looks like. It brings so much movement and dynamism and joy. If you want more, if you want to dive into doing this work, grab the worksheet at the link below, and it'll take you through the process that we just talked through, but in a worksheet format, so you can journal about each of the prompts and really discover your own answers to the questions. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you back here next week.